Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to London. Welcome to Westminster. As you can see, Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament behind me. The London Eye somewhere there in the fog. I thought I'd start here for no particular reason other than their instantly recognisable, iconic London backdrops. Big Ben and the London Eye. Today I want to talk about February here in London. So a guide, a tour of some of the highlights of things to do this month. Now, February is a time of Chinese celebrations here in town, fashion, pancakes and romance. So we're going to take a look around at all things and all the events relative to those. Now, I've said this before in previous videos, even if you come to London for the whole month, for a whole month, it doesn't matter which month, you will run out of things to do before you run out of month, and most people will run out of money before they run out of month. But with that said, today I want to look at February specific things because we haven't got time to look at everything. So we'll look at February specific things. But with that said, all of the places we're going to go and see and take a look at, although they're relative to events here in February, they're open all year round, so it might give you ideas and inspiration, things to do at other times of the year. Rather ironically, the places we'll go will be their busiest probably at this time of year, so it may actually be the worst time to visit them. But you forget I said that. It's a rubbish start to a guide. This is the time to come. So yeah, Chinese celebrations, romance, fashion and pancakes. First up, I guess we should talk about the weather because it's starting to worry me a little bit. The sun's just setting, 4:45 as you saw from Big Ben. When I left home, clear blue skies, fluffy white clouds. You can't really see them because they're misty, but there still are fluffy white clouds there, but the clouds in that direction are starting to look rather grey and ominous. So yeah, it's definitely cold and it will probably rain intermittently. Predicting the weather is impossible even for the professionals, but what I would say is the statistics regarding the weather can be a little bit misleading. The depths of winter are invariably, and again it's unpredictable, but it's usually at its coldest London late January, early February, and then throughout January it will start to get a little warmer. So at the start of February you're probably looking at average temperatures nearer 0 degrees centigrade, and then we will transition from winter through to the beginning of spring. You will start to see the first signs of spring in late February. So at the start of the month you're looking at average temperatures probably nearer 0 degrees centigrade, towards the end probably nearer 10 degrees centigrade. And no, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit or US dollars, I'm British. So yeah, averages can be misleading. It's freezing at the start, it'll be a little bit warmer at the end, and it will rain probably intermittently quite a lot. So today I'm going to, first of all, let's talk about Chinese New Year. I've made entire videos about it, so I'm not going to labour on that too much, but I will, for those of you that haven't seen them, show you a little glimpse of Chinese New Year. Now, Chinese New Year is a movable festival. It's linked to lunar cycles, so the moon, no specific, it's not a set day or date. Sometimes it can be late January, other times it will be in February. This year it was in January. That said, the big party, which is the biggest party for Chinese New Year outside of Asia, is here in London, and it's always the Sunday after Chinese New Year itself in Trafalgar Square. This year again that was in January, not February. But that said, they always decorate Chinatown. We have a big Chinatown here, a huge Chinese community, huge Asian community. So they decorate Chinatown. It looks at its best for Spring Festival. It's always decorated a week before and stays decorated for a week or two afterwards. So February is one of the greatest times to visit Chinatown. So we're going to take a look at that. There's another festival in Autumn Festival, or aka Mooncake Festival. So yeah, the 2 times a year that it looks its most fabulous, one of which is now. We'll check that out. Another event here in town is one of London's fashion weeks. So key event for the fashion industry. A lot of British fashion designers and brands will be showcasing upcoming collections, so we can go and take a look at one of the venues for that. Although, having said that, lose track of where they host it, but I'm pretty sure it's back in the centre of town, just down this road somewhere actually. For a long time it was Somerset House, which is actually on this road, but then for a few years the fashion industry considered East London like the home of cool, and they will always favour cool over convenience, so they all decamped to East London in all sorts of unsuitable buildings and locations dotted all over the place. But I think now they're back in town, and although the centre of town's not fashionable, it's not unfashionable, so it will do. I suppose style and glamour never goes out of fashion, and there's more of that here than there is in East London. If you think East London's still cool, you're so last season apparently. So yeah, fashion, Wales, pancakes. We have Pancake Day, so I'm going to go and get some pancakes, and I'll explain all about that and the difference between British pancakes, American pancakes and other European pancakes, and also romance. February is Valentine's Day, or Valentine's Day is during February, so we're going to have the Roberts London Romance Guide. So we'll need to start with hotels, some glamorous and fabulous hotels, because if you follow the rest of my guide, I can guarantee it will be so successful you'll need somewhere to make babies by the end of it. Guaranteed all your money back. It's a free guide. So yeah, we'll go and check out some glamorous hotels. I guess what are the main things people do on Valentine's Day? Valentine's Day cards, card shops everywhere, chocolate gifts, chocolates, flowers. We can go and check out some of the chocolate shops, florists, although I can only think of one florist. We can go check that out. Hotels, we can go and check out some of the glamorous hotels that you might like to stay in, and restaurants, dinner and drinks is obviously a popular choice for Valentine's Day, so we're going to check out some romantic restaurants. And what else? Cinema. Cinema is a popular choice for Valentine's Day. I guess if you don't want to do too much chatting or listening, sit in silence, or enjoy a movie. I'm going to check out some of London cinemas. So yeah, let's go. I'm going to zigzag all around, I think, doing this, because if we're looking at hotels and restaurants and bars and whatnot, to start with I'll be zigzagging. Maybe I'll write a blog post with further details of each one, so we don't have to labour too much on addresses and whatnot, because there is going to be a lot of jumping around. So yeah, first of all we'll jump straight into the romance guide while the sun's setting, because I want to check out Chinatown after dark. So yeah, we'll jump around town a little bit, and let's go and check out some fabulous hotels. I'm going to jump on a tube for this. First of all, I've walked from where was that? Big Ben there. It's Westminster Tube's just across the road. Here, Embankment Tube's just here. I'm going to jump on the tube and we'll go and check out some hotels further in the centre. You could walk, but we've got so much ground to cover the tube today. That's one thing I forgot. Theatre. Theatre is going to be a popular choice for Valentine's Day. Things to do. Loads of theatres. We've got a whole theatre district, one of which is here, the Playhouse. It's by Embankment Tube. Okay guys, I've come to Bond Street station. Yeah, Bond Street station. What I'm going to start off doing is a whirlwind tour of some of London's, a handful of London's hotels. Now, creating a guide to London's hotels would be a lifetime's work, so the best I can do is just show you a handful. Now, if you're watching this video, the chances are you're in the market for somewhere to stay if you're planning a visit to London. Also, with Valentine's Day being this month, it will be one of the most popular months of the year for staycations with Londoners. So I'll try and show you an iconic hotel, a stylish hotel, fashionable one, obviously a romantic one, and yeah, just a handful, give you some ideas. Now, the one piece of advice that I would give you when picking a hotel is figure out what you want to do on a map when you're in town before you pick a hotel, because the coolest or most fashionable hotel right now may well be in Shoreditch or Hoxton or somewhere, but if everything you want to do is here in the centre of town, having the coolest hotel somewhere on the outskirts of London is going to be no use whatsoever. Well, it's going to be a long and tedious commute in and out every day. So yeah, pick out what you want to do first. I'll try and stick to hotels that are reasonably central, so one, so I don't have to travel too far from the centre, and two, just to give you an idea of what's in town. But yeah, romantic gestures, I guess, for Valentine's Day will range from the sweet to the out and out sickening, and some will be obvious, some obscure. So I guess if you're getting a hotel stay, a fancy hotel stay in London, you know what you're in for. Trip up the London Eye, getting taken up the Shard, dinner at the Sky Garden. They're all actual things, not euphemisms. But I guess stay at a fancy hotel is pretty obvious. Now, just around the corner here is one of London's most iconic hotels, Claridge's. So we'll go and check that out. It is actually probably more popular for with Londoners as somewhere to take their mothers for afternoon tea than a romantic break on Valentine's Day. But yeah, great restaurant, a few bars, even a ballroom. Here we go, Claridge's. Okay, Claridge's is just here on the left. It starts here and runs all the way along to the corner of Brook Street, the street we're on. The ballroom is just there on the left with the Union Jack flags flying above the entrance. Claridge's here in the heart of Mayfair is arguably one of London's most iconic luxury hotels. The hotel has a very long heritage and is renowned for its elegance and traditional afternoon teas. Claridge's has glamorous bars and fine restaurants which make it the perfect destination for a Valentine's Day treat too. Maybe cocktails and dinner. Okay, pretty impressive. Definitely one of London's more iconic hotels, Claridge's. So next up, let's go and check out somewhere fashionable right now. Not too far from here actually, just around the corner. Just around the corner, quite way up the street. Okay, this was Marylebone fire station. See the big doors that the fire engines can come in and out of. Today, this is Chiltern Firehouse. We're on Chiltern Street in Marylebone, and the fire station was a fire station for about 100 years. After it was decommissioned, it was turned into a hotel and restaurant, and it's arguably one of the most fashionable restaurants, bars and hotels in town right now. Okay, so we've done iconic, fashionable, although it's an incredible looking building. Let's go somewhere just down the road romantic. Okay, this is the Zeta Townhouse, and one of the Zeta Townhouses. If you're looking for a romantic hotel, I'd suggest one of these. Now, there are 3 Zeta hotels, 2 townhouses and 1 normal large hotel. We're still super central on Seymour Street, still in Westminster, central London. Even if you're not looking for a hotel, incredible cocktail bars on the ground floor of the townhouses. Now, there's one here, the Zeta Townhouse here. It's like when you walk in, it's like walking into someone's house with a Victorian. It's like walking into a Victorian townhouse with a well-stocked bar. Incredible cocktail bars. There's one in Clerkenwell, quite close to where I work. I've been in both the cocktail bars and they are amazing. I've not stayed in the hotels, but I've seen images of the rooms. Each room looks unique. So each room's decorated differently. Quite small boutique hotels, incredible cocktail bars. The one in Clerkenwell, there's a townhouse, and then across the courtyard they have a standard large commercial central London hotel. Again, nothing wrong with it, but it's just not as exceptional as the townhouses. They are amazing spaces. So yeah, if you're looking for somewhere romantic to stay, even a romantic cocktail bar for date night, Zeta Townhouse. Right, next up I think we'll go somewhere. We've done iconic, fashionable, romantic. Let's go somewhere stylish. Okay, if you're after a designer hotel, it may not look like it from the outside. It looks like an old 1950s office block, which is kind of what it is. Originally it was a wallpaper factory, wallpaper designers, offices and factory. However, if you're into design, if you're looking for a designer hotel, by that I mean interior design, the interiors were designed by Philippe Starck. There's another hotel just down the road from here on St Martin's Lane, the St Martin's Lane Hotel, and they're considered some of the most interesting in terms of interior design. I've not stayed. I've been in the bar and restaurant of the St Martin's Hotel. Amazing food, amazing design, really incredible cocktail cabinet. I've not been in the Sanderson, but I've stayed in one of Philippe Starck's designed hotels, but in New York, the Hudson, and yeah, it is kind of surreal. But yeah, draft designer hotel, Sanderson, St Martin's Hotel. Right, next up, restaurants. Okay, going to the theatre is obviously going to be a super popular Valentine's date night idea. Harry Potter fans, Harry Potter the stage show, just there. But next up I want to talk about not the theatre but restaurants. Now obviously going out for dinner is going to be a popular pastime all year long, that goes without saying. However, I guess in February, Valentine's Day, people are going to be looking for more romantic ideas and inspiration for dinner dates than they possibly would at other times of the year. So what makes a romantic restaurant? Well, I guess the whole experience, the ambience, the dining room, as opposed to just being an entirely food-led experience. So it would be easy just to recommend some of London's iconic restaurants, but the chances are at such short notice you're not going to get a table. Now there are 3 restaurants with quite a lot in common. Iconic London restaurants. This is one of them, the Ivy. We've also got the Caprice and Sheekey's Oyster Bar. Now, looks pretty amazing, lit up at night, the Ivy. Now, as I was saying, the chances are you're not going to get a table last minute in there unless you're an A-list celebrity, in which case you can just walk straight in. They'll put you on a pedestal, both literally and metaphorically. They'll sit you on a table or at the bar where everyone can see you and kiss your ass. However, mere mortals like you and I, even for YouTube stars like myself, they're not giving us a table at short notice. So I have a suggestion. Okay, Sheekey Oyster Bar, obviously another fantastic location, being an oyster bar, great date night for Valentine's Day. Now, the Ivy, the Caprice, Sheekey all have a number of things in common. So here's my suggestion. Now, they're all iconic restaurants. Getting tables last minute is going to be tricky for mere mortals like you and I. However, what they have in common, they have long histories, which has made them glamorous and fashionable, which isn't something you can install or buy. Now, the Ivy was established in 1917. The maitre d', the host, then left, set up the Caprice. Sheekey's is founded back in the 1800s. What they have in common is they were fashionable, they were glamorous back in the day, then they fell out of fashion, and they were reinvented. Reinvented might not be the right word, but they were restored by the same guys. A restaurant, it's now a restaurant group. However, they originally got the Caprice, when it was out of fashion, they restored it to they effectively put it back to its former glory, and was successful. Then, by the late 80s, the Ivy back then was out of fashion. They bought it and they restored it back to its former glory. So it had become it had struggled to remain fashionable. They restored it back to its glamorous past, open to huge success. So here's the thing: those guys now they sold out of both the Caprice and the Ivy, but they have a restaurant group and they do exactly the same things. They have a history of taking restaurants, former icons, very glamorous restaurants that have fallen on hard times, and they restore them back to their former glory. They're amazing places to go, I would say, for Valentine's Day, for date night, because they're almost like movie sets. They're timeless. They will normally take a inspiration from something like a Venetian 1920s cafe or a Parisian 1930s restaurant, and run with it. And they're amazing dining rooms. Again, experience led rather than service, ambiance. They just look incredible rather than food led. The food's good, they're reasonably priced, and they haven't yet become as iconic. Well, the Wolseley has, but you are more likely to get a table in the Delaunay, the Brasserie, and the Ivy, and the Oyster Bar. You'll probably be alright, but yeah, the Caprice and the Ivy, there's a waiting list. Trafalgar Square. Okay, this is Piccadilly. This behind me is Arlington Street. At the bottom there you have Le Caprice, the Ritz Hotel in this corner. So one of London's most fashionable, iconic restaurants at the bottom, Le Caprice. And here, the Wolseley. Again, one of London's most fashionable, but becoming an iconic restaurant. Okay guys, I'm in Sloane Square in London's Chelsea. Now what I would suggest for romantic restaurant ideas, rather than one restaurant, I'll give you a small group of restaurants. Now what iconic restaurants the Ivy, Sheekey's and the Caprice have in common? They have a number of things in common, but they also have people in common. Now The Ivy was established back in 1917. The original maitre d', the host, left, set up Le Caprice. And they were both very glamorous, very famous restaurants back in the day, probably as popular for their guest list as they were for their food. And they went out, they were hugely popular, hugely fashionable, and like everything that goes in fashion, comes into fashion, they went out of fashion. First, the Caprice, and I think it's shut. Anyway, it was purchased by two guys, and those two guys, they refurbished it, they restored it back to its former glory, its glory years, opened it, hugely successful. Now, fast forward a little bit, late 80s, the Ivy, again, fallen a little bit out of fashion, still popular, still iconic, but past its glory years, it shuts. Those two guys buy it, they restore it back to its original glory, reopen it, it's been iconic ever since. I think the two guys, is it Corbin and King? I'll put a link down below. But anyway, then at some point they redid J. Sheekey's, again becomes iconic. So anyway, they sold their stakes, they sold off the company that owned the Caprice and the Ivy, and they have nothing to do with J. Sheekey's, I don't think, but they do have a restaurant group, and they're still doing the same thing. They take once glamorous, iconic, famous restaurants where the glamour may have faded a little, and restore them. Not necessarily entirely historically, but they just look amazing. They look like movie sets. They're not food led, they're more experience led. They look like it feels like you're in a Wes Anderson movie. You know, like some of them are inspired by French or Parisian cafes, others by Venetian restaurants from various periods of history, the 20s, the 30s. So yeah, they are, I guess, they're the most romantic experiences I could think of. There's one here in Sloane Square, here, the Colbert, I forget. Names are open to interpretation, but yeah, French style brasserie, and there are a few others in central London, but yeah, check it out. I know what you're thinking, that looks like a restaurant on a very busy road junction. And it is. All of these restaurants in the Corbin and King group have taken inspiration from bygone eras of glamorous corners of Europe, but they are here in London, so to some extent you'll need to take your imagination too. I would go to the restaurant for snacks or dinner, then head somewhere for dessert, and I'll show you somewhere perfect for that later. And then maybe on to somewhere for drinks or a nightcap. Here in Sloane Square, the Colbert takes inspiration from the boulevard cafes of Paris. And there's been a restaurant on the site for decades, but although the Colbert's only been there a few years, it was designed to look timeless, and the other restaurants are the same. This is my favourite, the Delaunay, and it takes inspiration from the past. Looks like it's vintage, but in fact opened in 2012. I've had some very good Sunday roasts here in the past. The Wolseley was actually originally the Wolseley Motor Car Company, and it was its rather glamorous car showrooms until the company went bust in 1926. And although Corbin and King opened it in just 2003, it has been restored to look more like the 1920s inside than present day. Here, Brasserie Zedel off Piccadilly Circus, the building was once part of the Regent Palace Hotel, which opened in 1915. They say the hotel fell on hard times after the 1940s. As I remember it, it had become what would be considered a hostel today rather than a hotel. The whole building was redeveloped, and we got a Whole Foods on one side and a 1930s inspired Brasserie Zedel on the other. Okay, the once bright lights of Piccadilly Circus, if you come to town right now, they're off. They've been switched off, they're having a whole new screen installed, and they will be on until autumn. So it's been apparently the longest time the lights will be out since World War II. It doesn't look the same without the glow, the illumination, and the subliminal messages to drink Coca-Cola. They're not subliminal actually, it's just there. Okay, another amazing looking restaurant is Criterion. I think it's Criterion.
Where to, Peter?
There's a theatre. There's also the restaurant there, and they use it in movies. It looks incredible. Again, a destination you go to for probably the way it looks and the whole experience, rather than for the food. There's nothing wrong with it, but yeah, critics aren't lining up on their days off to go there, but it looks incredible. Okay, for Valentine's Day, if you're looking for gifts, chocolates are super popular. Paul A. Young's store here in Soho, one of Britain's finest chocolate stores, super popular for Valentine's gifts ideas. At the other end of the street is one of Italy's finest chocolate factories, said. I'm going to check that out. Definitely recommend that place for chocolates. It's featured in other videos on my channel. I'll show you a great spot for hot chocolate, but also one of Italy's most renowned chocolate factories. And they have their only London store right now, their only UK store at the other end of this street. Okay, this here is said. Italy, Rome in Italy's oldest chocolate factory. Incredible chocolates, amazing hot chocolate. It's featured in other videos. I've been here in Christmas videos for hot chocolate. As you can see, the queue goes out the door. Probably queuing though to take a seat inside. You can sit inside. They have a kitchen. They do food and drink, but it's mainly popular for its chocolates and hot chocolates and desserts. So people go out for dinner in Soho, come here for dessert. Yeah, amazing hot chocolate. I'm tempted to get in the queue, but we've got a lot of ground to cover this evening. So yeah, Paul A. Young at that end. If you're looking for somewhere to come and enjoy chocolate while you're here, I definitely recommend Stead. Okay, another hugely popular Valentine's Day gift, flowers. Now, the only florist I can think of here in super central London is Liberty. They have a florist in the main entranceway there. I'm sure you'll get brownie points if your flowers come with Liberty gift packaging. I'm sure there are hundreds, possibly thousands of florists here in central London. However, in central London, that's the main one that springs to mind in the entrance of Liberty's. There are, if you want a tip of a place to get flowers and plants, Columbia Road. It's only open on Sundays and early. There's a video on my channel about it, obviously. But yeah, Columbia Road Plant and Flower Market is an amazing place and great value too. Probably can't, I wouldn't imagine they lay claim to being great value, but they are in a very central location and they look incredible. Right, chocolates, flowers, what next? Okay, something that is hugely popular, goes without saying, all year, is going to the movies. And it's particularly popular as a date night idea on Valentine's Day. You can see the appeal. Don't have to do a lot of talking, more importantly, or a lot of listening. Yeah, going to the movies. So I thought I'd share with you my favourite cinemas here in town. First one I've already made a movie about, the Electric Cinema in Notting Hill. They've got another one in another part of London, but yeah, the one in Notting Hill is it's an amazing cinema. I've only got one screen, so don't play that. They don't have as many movies as other cinemas, like the We're in just off Leicester Square, so you've got these huge Odeon cinemas there. They don't have so many films, but yeah, it's just a cool cinema. My other one now is in two minds as to share both of these cinemas, that one at the time and this one today, because they're popular, they're small. The electric cinema has one screen, it's got two cinemas with one screen in each, so it's hard to get tickets. The same with this one, which is Prince Charles Cinema. Now, we're just off Leicester Square, but obviously it couldn't cut it as some of the bigger, you know, playing the latest, biggest movies. So what it does, it plays classic movies. So at the minute, and if you can see the sign there, they're playing Die Hard. We've got Die Hard 1, Big Trouble in Little China. They often do all-nighters as well, so you can go and do Lord of the Rings all throughout the night. James Bond back to back. Yeah, it's a great idea. But I think this year on Valentine's Day they're doing Breakfast at Tiffany. So again, the original classic movie. But yeah, I definitely recommend checking out what's going on here. If you've got a favourite movie, or your partner has, you never know, it might be on when you want to come to town. Prince Charles Cinema, and we are just off Leicester Square. In front of me is an Odeon, and I can see Rogue One Star Wars is on, which isn't on at the Electric Cinema because I wanted to see it there and they haven't been showing it. So yeah, they are both great cinemas, but they don't always play the latest, greatest blockbusters. That's no bad thing. But yeah, here Leicester Square is definitely home to London's most renowned cinemas, huge ones. They're all around, and if there's a movie premiere in town, it is invariably here. They'll roll out the red carpet, the stars will be driven in and up to the cinemas here, and probably swiftly out the back doors. Yeah, cinemas. Right, what's next? We'll find out. Your girlfriend will let you go and watch Star Wars on Valentine's Day night. You've got to keep her. Okay, Chinese New Year is another huge event here in London each year. As I was saying earlier, some years it's in late January, others February. It's on no fixed day or date. It's attached to the lunisolar calendar, so it changes date each year. This year it was late January, but many years it's in February. But yeah, regardless of what month, whether it's in January or February, if you come here in the start of February, well, unless it's of course late February in the particular year, they always decorate with these incredible looking lanterns, the whole town. They'll have symbols up for this year's symbolic animal. And yeah, the decorations go up at least a week in advance and will start for a week or two afterwards. So February is always going to be a fantastic time. One of the best times to come and visit Chinatown because it will look its most atmospheric. Squint. Well, no, you don't even have to squint. You can easily imagine you're in Asia. And in Trafalgar Square, the Sunday after Chinese New Year's itself, there is the biggest Chinese New Year party outside of Asia. But one thing, as you can see from the crowds, it's also the busiest. It will be spring festival and autumn festival when it's decorated. Will be the busiest Chinatown will be throughout the year. So the crowds will be the biggest. The queues for the restaurants, the bakeries, the cafes, and even the cash machine will be at their longest. I've made entire videos and vlogs about Chinese New Year here in London, and many from Chinatown, from here in Chinatown, so I won't labour on this too long. You can check out the other videos on my channel all about it. So let's get from Chinatown, let's continue with things to do in February. Okay, I've come to South Kensington. I can't talk about February here in London, well here in Britain, without talking about Pancake Day. And I know what you're thinking, if you're in another country, you're probably thinking, yeah, there's a day for everything. But no, Pancake Day is a big deal here. So I'm headed to a French restaurant. I'm hoping it's still open. It's not the kind of French restaurant you're thinking of. I'm going to get some pancakes. I hope I am. Yeah, it has a religious history. Britain's obviously historically a Christian country, and Pancake Day is actually Shrove Tuesday. I guess in the same way Muslims have Ramadan, Christians have Lent, whereas I think Ramadan's a whole month, Lent is 40 days I think. Starts on Wednesday, so the day before the Tuesday, Shrove Tuesday, is a day I suppose for feasting. And I guess it was started so long ago that pancakes were considered a luxury, because if you're American you probably think, yeah, pancakes, but they're nothing like what British consider pancakes, nothing like American pancakes. Americans are quite thick, small diameter. British ones are bigger but thinner. They don't have the raising agent in them. They're effectively a French crepe, but French crepe, British pancakes, they're called different things in different countries all across Europe, but there's a French creperie here. So I'll get the traditional British way they're served and show you. Okay, success. Pancakes from a pancake from the Kensington Creperie. Crepes, pancakes, British pancakes, same thing. Like I said, they're called different things in different countries. But yeah, they do some amazing ones there. I've gone for the what people would consider the British classic version, which is just pancake, sugar and lemon, which it's one of those things, kids get super excited about it, but it probably is. Well, it's one of those things where expectations versus reality. It's a pretty austere thing. Pancakes, they don't taste of a great deal, they're not like American ones. Pretty thin, I'll show you. It's all about the toppings. Nutella, fruit, people have all sorts of things. But yeah, this is the traditional British pancake version. Pancake, sugar, caster sugar, squeeze a lemon. Okay, let's try this. Tastes like pancake, like I say. Well, it tastes like lemon and sugar. The pancakes, they're good pancakes in there, but it's all, you really need, it's all about the toppings. But yeah, this, I just thought I'd show you the traditional way they're had on Pancake Day. Most people cook them at home. Didn't have time, so I'm at the French Creperie getting the British classic. Oh, good. So yeah, if you want to try the British classic Pancake Day pancakes, go to the Kensington Creperie, opposite West Kensington Tube. There's loads of restaurants up here actually. It's probably a good spot for finding a restaurant for Valentine's Day evening, date night. Comptoir Lebanese is great Middle Eastern inspired food. And next to Comptoir Lebanese is Brindisa, an amazing Spanish tapas bar and restaurant. Across the road, Fernandez and Wells, amazing coffee shop, again serving tapas and small bites. And of course the Kensington Creperie, where we got our pancake. Okay, this is 180 the Strand. I think there are plans for this to become the home of London's fashion industry. London Fashion Week is in February and a lot of the events I think are taking place in here. Something I should be a lot more interested in, owning a jewellery business which kind of overlaps in many ways with the jewellery industry. But yeah, there are always pressures from the jewellery industry to try and, well, I wouldn't say pressures, they're constantly trying to reinvent themselves as part of the fashion industry, because fashion sells in numbers. Well, there is fashion jewellery for fashion's sake, but most fine jewellery doesn't sell in the numbers that skirts do. But having said that, fine jewellery has a sentimental value that people attach to it, almost becomes talismanic. So yeah, I always advise people not to follow trends and fashions when they're buying fine jewellery, because you want it to last, well, it will last decades, it will last you a lifetime. You want to be able to wear it comfortably for a lifetime. So you want it to be stylish and timeless, so you can wear it for many years, rather than ephemeral like fashion, where in a couple of seasons time it's out of fashion and you don't want to wear it. But that's my excuse for not being following the fashion industry too closely. But yeah, a lot of the events I think will be held here. Looks like they're cladding it. There's a lot of scaffolding up. Looks like they're building some sort of installation. So there's Adidas or Adidas signs, depending on which country you're in, how you pronounce it. Again, names are open to interpretation, pronounced differently in different countries, before you start going mental in the comment section. But yeah, they're cladding the building with something here. I don't know if it's construction work. I would imagine they're cladding it for something to do with Fashion Week. But if you're interested in fashion, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, that's going to be the centre of British fashion for February and London Fashion Week. Right, let's head on. Presumably you can hear that, all the clocks around here, including Big Ben. That's striking 10, which means this film's taken me just over 5 hours. Yeah, just over 5 hours to shoot. These tour guides are hard work. It's much easier just to go to the Apple store, buy a hard drive, review it, get more views, more ad revenue. These, I've done miles, hours and hours, miles and miles. I probably don't want to watch it. Maybe next time I'll just go to the Apple store and buy something electric and review it. It's much easier. Toodles. Downing Street, home of British Prime Minister. Don't think she's in at the moment. She's in America, dealing with their president. Well, he's probably dealing with her. I have a feeling he's going to get on much better with maybe the Italian Prime Minister, certainly the former one, than ours.